So because the sound design is so musical, and because Ben and Hans came in so late, what were the conversations with them around, like, was there sort of did they have specific moments that they were focusing on, or how did they kind of fit in with what you guys have been doing?
I mean, part of this comes from the way that Joe and Denise see it as if you're going through an editing process and you're either temping in music or you've got a composer kind of composing for each scene. It sort of functions almost as a crutch for that scene. Perhaps you're not focusing on the mechanics of the scene and the plot as closely as you should. It's sort of a balm that makes everything feel better. And in many ways, I think their idea was to have sound provide what score normally does in terms of sort of guiding us, giving us hints, helping thematically connect different parts of the film. And then, as Joe brilliantly puts it, sort of use the composer's score to bring in the cavalry for those moments where it's really, really needed. And that's something that can come in later in the process. Right. So I think we had, to some extent, already defined the areas where the score would be needed, and we'd sort of backed off on the sound on those moments, knowing that something big was going to be coming in there.
And that's a function of Denis' prescience of starting Theo as early as he did, and then bringing me on as early. I came on far earlier than a traditional supervising sound editor would come on. And those early months for me were pure design time to create with Theo all these fantastic textures that we made that would have been thought of, or maybe are thought of as music. And I think one of the highest compliments I've received in the various lectures and discussions we've had about the film is that audience members have come up and said, I couldn't tell where the boundaries were. I think that's the highest compliment we could have been paid.
I agree. Can you guys tell the story as an example of how Denis works with music of Kay's Walk in the Las Vegas desert, how that started out?
Ron sat in that hot seat. That's your story, my friend.
It's a great story.
Early on, Hans and Ben were told to deliver wide stems, so everything was separate. There wasn't a traditional, like, here's all the synth stuff, here's the orchestral stuff, here's the strings, whatever. Sure. It was all the synth tracks. So I would get a whole bunch of, like, left, right, stereo tracks to pick from. And it's not like we arbitrarily went, oh, I like that, let's put it in. Obviously, we looked at the entire piece, saw its intent, and then we would play all the tracks for Denis and say, how's this playing? What do you like? And we would pick through ones that, he was not a fan of the more modern sounds, some of the newer synth sounds. So he would typically he'd say, that's such a great sound, but not in my movie. Because he really loved it, but he would just take it out.
And inversely, I'm not going to interrupt your story, but a lot of what Ben was doing was also something you could have considered as sound design. It wasn't necessarily musical.
Absolutely.
So we always had this crossover.